I'm going to go back to libraries. We just searched for ENG060 to find your course guide. We clicked on go. We waited a second. We waited for this black box to pop up, and then we found the course guide, and we're going to click there. This guide is going to be the key to starting your research. It has everything you're going to need to find the very best databases to do some research. It has a link to your list of topics. At least it's a list that Professor Fonseca provided. I think it's very similar to your list of topics.
Yes.
It's got links back to the Help for Students page. It's also got this really nice glossary of library terms. So if I happen to use some terms that are unfamiliar, you can open that up and go look at the list of terms. We talked about databases. You can click on D to find out that a database is a collection of information stored in electronic format that can be searched by a computer. I wonder if article is in here. Article. Here we go. Here's a definition of an article, right? You guys need to find, it's a brief work, generally between 1 and 35 pages in length on a topic, often published as part of a journal, magazine, or newspaper. So this is just a really good place to get those basic definitions. Okay, so I went there to get that. And then there's some related guides that you might want to take a look at. We're not going to spend too much time there. There's a link here to ask a librarian, or you can, if you click on the bubble, you'll start our chat. So that's good to know about. And then you use these tabs over on the left-hand side to navigate to different kinds of places. So today, I know that we're looking for books and articles. I will say, you guys should spend some time being explorers and being researchers and read lots of information on these different tabs. If you click on research skills, it talks again about the research mindset, how research takes patience, and you can read through there and get some really good ideas. There's some specific steps in the research process that you should think about when you're doing research. But today I really want to spend the rest of our time looking at how we can find books and how we can find articles. Okay, so I'm going to click on books first. And when I do that, I get links to databases for ebooks, which may be something that you want to spend some time with during this time where it's harder to be on campus and we're not on campus as much. There are going to be some opportunities to get print books too. And maybe I should stop here and hear about what your preferences are for print or ebooks.
I think it's the ebooks because none of us have time.
Okay, so I hear one vote for ebooks. I'd love to hear from a couple other people too. But I get that right now it's hard to spend time on campus. All right, we'll start with ebooks, and then if you guys want to look at print books, please drop a little message to me in chat. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to navigate here. Okay, so we're going to start with ebooks. This first link is a search that someone has already done for a collection of ebooks that are related to health or healthcare. And it's a collection of books that have a reading level that's very accessible. So, reading in English is hard when English isn't your first language. So this collection that you'll find under this link will be books that tend to be a little bit easier to read. So I'm going to click on that link. Oops, sorry. I was in my wrong window. I'm going to click on that link. And because I was already logged in through Blackboard, I get here right away. And so what I get are a list of, I don't know if you can see that, I've highlighted, but it says it's 745 books, and they have something to do with health or healthcare. Okay, so they may be very general in nature, but here's one about careers in healthcare, and I think that was one of your topics. That is one of the options you could look into health professions. And so if that was the thing that you wanted to investigate, you could use this book. This would be a book that you could use. And you could look at the table of contents, and you find out that there are chapters in this book on all these different careers that you might investigate. And so that would mean these would be the chapters that you would read. So if you were interested in, what does a paramedic do? What are the qualifications that I need to become a paramedic? How much education do I need? Do I need a college degree? Do I need some special license to become a paramedic? I could probably click there and read that paragraph, and that would be one chapter from a book about being a paramedic. So you could kind of look at the chapters here, but if you want to find out more about the book, you can click on the title, and you have an option. You can open the PDF full text, or for this particular book, you can actually download it to your own device, and then you could read it later at your leisure. So I'm going to just show you what the full text looks like right now. So I just clicked on the full text. Again, I've got my chapters. I could go to the paramedic chapter, and it starts here. It tells me what a paramedic does. I can read that page. I could just scroll through and read this information. How do you become one? So it's got information there. Certification and licensing. I've got all kinds of information about being a paramedic. So I'm going to kind of back up here. We went from here, and it took us to, it took us to this result list of these 745 books that have something to do with healthcare. So that's one thing that you could spend some time with. I'm going to go back now to this page. So remember, that's a pre-made search. Someone's already done that search. You may not even want to use that. You can do your own search by using this link here. I'm going to save Credo reference for later, okay? But I'm going to click on this link to ebooks on EBSCOhost, and this is where you could search on your own topic. So I'm going to click there, and let's do that. Let's do that bipolar idea, and we could just start off by. We can go back and look at those questions actually. Sorry, it takes me a minute to switch back from screen to screen. How can we help people with bipolar disorder? How do you get bipolar? How do you get it when you're born, or does it develop as you're older? So let's just start off with bipolar disorder and see what we can find out. So the very first thing that pops up is this title, Bipolar Disorder and Information Guide. That looks like that might be a pretty interesting book to read. It's available full text and for a full download. Here's another example, Bipolar Disorder, a guide for the newly diagnosed. Remember that when you find these books, you don't have to read the whole book. You may find a chapter within the book that looks really promising. There are 47 books to choose from on this topic, so there's probably one that will be pretty useful for you. So I'm going to click on this one, Bipolar Disorder. We can, right here, over here on the right-hand side, we've got a table of contents. And you may need to enlarge that to see it, but it says what is bipolar disorder, what causes bipolar disorder, treatments for bipolar disorder. So that would get at, how can we help people with bipolar disorder, prevention, recovery and relapse prevention, help for partners and families. That might be another interesting chapter to read if you're thinking about how can I help someone. So not only how can doctors help someone with bipolar disorder, but maybe how can I as a family member help someone? How can I be helpful to someone with bipolar disorder? And then there's this really interesting chapter explaining bipolar disorder to children. That might be an interesting thing to look at too. So I'm gonna go back to my result list. And I want to know from you guys if you have any questions about how we kind of did that, how we got there. Is everybody kind of following along? Or do you want me to repeat the steps we took?
Are you guys following along? Yes. Yeah? You guys are following along? Yeah? Okay. Yeah,
all right. Sounds good. All right, one more thing I want to show you. I'm going to go back into this book. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to click on the title. And over here on the right-hand side, you may have to scroll if you've enlarged your screen. But over here on the right-hand side, I've got some little help tools. So I can email this book to myself. So I can send an email so I can get back here really easily. And what I will get is a link back to this book. But when I do that, I can also send myself a citation. Do you see this section right here where it says citation format? And I don't know if you guys have had any time to talk about citations yet, but citations are is the way that we tell our reader, the reader of our writing, the sources that we used. And so in different classes, your professors may ask you to use different citation formats or styles. And I don't know, have you talked about the style that you'll use for this class?
I haven't, but we are going to use MLA.
Great. So MLA is a choice here. You can't see my drop-down menu, but I just opened up a drop-down menu and I chose MLA. So what that will do is send you a formatted citation for this particular book. And then at the end of your project, you're going to have a list of all the sources that you used in doing your research, and this is going to put it into the right format for you. And so then you're just going to type in your email address here, and you'll click send, and it will send you a link back to the book so you can find it easily and a citation. So that's a really useful little tool. And that's one of those kind of added value things that you get by starting at the library website. All right, so we quickly found a book, right? And we know that you need to find books on your topic. We quickly found a book, and we also were able to email ourselves a link to the book and a citation. So that accomplished a lot of the work for your project right there. All right, any questions? Okay, let's see if are there other topics that we could investigate while we're here. I might try that. I kind of like that I'm going to do high blood pressure in another source, I think. I see that one there. But I'm going to try genetically modified food here. So let's try that. And I can just change my search here. It tells me that I'm searching the ebook collection, which I want to do. And I can just change my search here to genetically modified food. I can leave my search like that, or I could do something like this. I could say, and United States. Now this is a topic that I think Mawonyo was looking at, and they wrote genetically modified food in USA, and I changed that when I did my search. I changed it to and I'm going to tell you that that is going to make, for everybody, doesn't matter what your search is, if you think of the main topics of your search and you separate those main topics with the word and, you put that word and in between, it will make your results better. So we'll get better results by typing in genetically modified food and United States instead of typing in genetically modified food in the United States. Okay, it's just the way the databases work. It's kind of like you're telling the databases how to behave. And you're saying, find these two ideas, but the two ideas can be in separate places in the article or in the book. All right, so I'm going to try this search and see what happens. Okay, so we found 4 titles, and it looks like the first 2 at least are kind of general. They're not books that are only about genetically modified food. I'm going to scroll down the page. All right, so this is where that patience and persistence comes in when doing research. So I did a search. I only got 4 results. I'm not really liking them. They're not really, to me, like somebody asked that question, like, how do I know if I found the right thing? I can just read this title, The Beginner's Guide to Winning the Nobel Prize, Advice for Young Scientists, and I know I don't think this is going to have exactly what I want for my question, right? So I've got to be flexible. I should have added that to the list. Flexibility is another thing. I'm going to take out my limit of the United States, and I'm just going to say genetically modified food and see if that helps, because that's going to open things up. And look what happened. All of a sudden, I got 29 things instead of 4 things, and the first 2, I think, look pretty good. Genetically modified food, a short guide for the confused. You guys know now how to use the book, right? If you want to use the book, you're going to click on the title. You're going to maybe look at the table of contents to find the chapter or chapters. Maybe there's 2 chapters in here that you want to use. We want to make sure, right, that we are that this is talking about the United States. So you may need to do a little bit of investigation. If you click on the title, we can read this description here. And this is another way for that student who asked, how do I know whether or not what I found is going to be good? This is a good way to read this description. Sometimes this will be called an abstract or a summary. Those are other words that you'll see here. But it says this title gives readers a balanced look at the issue of genetically modified foods and the surrounding arguments. It's not telling me right here if this is about the United States specifically, but it was published. I find out it was published in the United States. So that tells me that it probably has a focus. It was published in Minnesota, and so it probably does have a focus on information from the United States. Okay? Any questions, or anybody want me to repeat anything? How are you guys feeling about finding a book?
Are you guys doing okay? Yeah.
Okay, then I am going to go back to our guide. Remember, here's our guide. We were just looking at the books tab. We were looking at EBSCO books, and we did a search in there and we found a couple books. There's some other articles. These are articles from reference books that someone has pulled out for you if you want to look at those, and then some particular ebooks that somebody thought were really useful. So these are other ways to find books, perhaps, if a book happens to be available on your topic right here. But I really like searching better. I think that's a better way to go. And then there are a couple, if you guys, for anyone who prefers print, there's some examples of some print books. And I'd be happy to work with you to find some print books too, if that's your preference. Okay? But I know that I kind of had blocked out from 5:30 to 7 for tonight's class, so I want to make sure that we get to articles. And let me know if that works with your schedule for me to go until 7 o'clock. I don't want to overstep my time either.
That's fine. Yes, 7 is fine.
So I'm going to click on this link to articles because we just spent some time looking for books, right? We spent some time looking for books, and now we're going to shift gears and we're going to find that other kind of information, articles. And from here, we've got some recommended databases. Okay, so these are, remember, those are those tools that are going to help us find information. So we can find reference articles in this database called Credo Reference, and I really highly recommend doing that. And then you can find magazine articles in these 4 different databases. And then there are a couple other resources if your topic is kind of a controversial one. These 3 databases are good starting points. And then if you are interested in finding newspaper articles on your topic, this Access World News is a really good database to use. Or if you just wanted to find out what was going on in St. Louis on a topic, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch is a good place to go. All right, so I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and we're going to start with reference, because I think even before I find a whole book on a topic, I think it's useful to find a reference article on a topic. So I'm going to click there where it says Credo Reference. This is just a different database. We were in EBSCO Ebooks. That was one database. This is a different one, Credo Reference. So I'm going to click there. You'll see it looks different, right? It looks totally different, but it tells you it's gives you background information to start your research. It's a really good place to go. So I'm going to go with Sherilyn's topic of high blood pressure and see what we get. I just typed in that term, and look what happens. This is really interesting. So Credo Reference said, well, I think you're talking about hypertension, which is a way we talk about high blood pressure in the medical world. So it starts us off with this kind of definitional article from Black's Medical Dictionary, which would be a really nice introductory place probably to find a little bit of information. So we could start there by clicking on that title, and that's going to bring us this is an article right here. So it's got a little bit of an introduction. Here's my keyword that I used, high blood pressure, right? There it is. It's got all these words that are linked, will take us to other articles that'll tell us more. High blood pressure, it says, is linked to stroke or myocardial infarction. So if I wanted to find out more about what a stroke or myocardial infarction, I could click there to find out. I've got a section on treatment. So if I wanted to talk about that in my research, I could do that. Complications. And then that's the end of that particular article. Down here at the bottom, here again, I have my help for my citation. So I would just click on MLA to get my MLA citation. Up at the top of the page, I can share this article with myself. So I can email this article. I would always click this. I want the full text. That means I'm going to get the whole article in my email. And then I also want an MLA citation. And then I type in my name and my email address again, because you're sending it to yourself. And then you would click go, and that article would be sent to your email. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where we were there, and I'm going to go back one more step. Ooh, I went back too far. But not only do I have this article here, I've got a bunch of other articles. And one nice thing is that it tells us where the article is coming from. So this article about hypertension is coming from the Encyclopedia of Psychology. So it would have the information there would have that kind of perspective. It would give us the psychological connection to hypertension. This one talks about high blood pressure in pregnancy. So that has that kind of connection. This is a really short definition. It's just 25 words long, so I might not spend too much time on that. I can keep going. This one's from the Illustrated Dictionary of Science. It's only 6 words long, but it will give me, I bet, I'm going to click there and make sure, but I think it's going to give me an image. Oh, and it says see blood circulation. Oh, yeah, see blood circulation. should have done this ahead of time. Actually, this doesn't look too useful. So again, this is where we got to have some patience and persistence. That doesn't look like a very good lead to me. So I'm going to get back out of here. I was hopeful that I would get a picture since it was from the illustrated dictionary, but oh, I went too far again. Oh, you know what? I just saw something on the previous page, so I want to back out. But that's how you can search for these. One more thing I want to show before I get back there, but you can also limit your type of article to different places. What I wanted to see more filters. Oh, length. This is a really nice way to filter your results. You can find medium articles or long articles. And sometimes when I'm in this database, I really want to find a long article. I want to see if I can find a long article about hypertension. And so this one of 525 words is a longer one. This one is almost 1,000 words. This one looks really nice. It's blood pressure from the Gale Encyclopedia of Senior Health. So if you're interested in the elderly population, that would be an interesting one. This is a more general one from the Gale Encyclopedia of Nursing and Allied Health. I really like, that's the one I'm liking the most right now. But again, this one looks interesting. Blood pressure and exercise from the Gale Encyclopedia of Fitness probably tells me something about how exercise can help me control my blood pressure, my high blood pressure. But what I saw was if I go back to this page, another way you can use Credo reference is by browsing. And look at this. There's this whole section of health and medicine. And so for those of you who don't have a topic in mind, this is another way you can go. So you look through here and you say, well, gosh, what can this database tell me about post-traumatic stress? I could look there if I just didn't have any idea what I wanted to work on. So I've got this introductory article and then a whole bunch of other articles I could use. We also, I haven't kind of highlighted this, but we have this mind map showing up. So this kind of tells us what other topics are related to post-traumatic stress disorder. So I see that anxiety disorder is related to that. It falls under this broad category of abnormal psychology. So sometimes this mind map will give you some ways to think about a topic. Stress is closely correlated with post-traumatic stress disorder, right? We think about stress a lot when we talk about PTSD. And then there's this maybe more narrow term of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know what that is, but we could click on there. And what that will do when I click there is then give me these articles that are more related to that particular topic. All right, so you guys have some ideas for how to use Credo reference when you're looking for reference articles, right? And let me see, have I hit everybody's topic? Are there put a topic in chat if there's a topic that you want me to demonstrate in the next section. I'm gonna jump back to our guide, and I want to show you a magazine article database. So does anybody have another topic that they want to look at?
Do you guys have any other topic that you want to look at? No? James, do you have a topic?
I'm not looking Alzheimer disease.
Alzheimer?
Alzheimer's. Okay, so that's a good one to demonstrate in some of these magazine databases over here. So these are all good starting points. I think Moss Ultra is probably that database that's going to have the most articles that are written at a very accessible level. So if you want to kind of dip your toe into something that's going to be a little bit easier to read first to get a grounding in a topic and then move on to some of the other databases, that could be a good idea. So I'm going to click on this one. This is Moss Ultra. That's that one I was mentioning. And we can type in Alzheimer disease. and we might try to think of a question that we have about Alzheimer's disease. But look at this. The database gave us a question that someone has asked. Could infections make us vulnerable to Alzheimer's disease? That's an interesting question, and you could probably find some answers in that article. Here's an article called Alzheimer's Disease Breakthrough. Maybe you could ask your question, you know, what are some new treatments, promising treatments for Alzheimer's disease? And maybe you would find some answers in that article. Look at our results. We found 4,000 results in this database. So we probably do want to think of some ways we can limit our search. When you're in these databases, there are lots of ways that you can refine your results when you've got a really great, huge number of results. So I really encourage you to limit to full text. That's one limit I would definitely put on. It didn't get rid of very many things. Lots of them. Excuse me?
And new base like from maybe like 2000 to 2021.
You're right. You're one step ahead of me. That's just where I was going to go. So yeah, let's. We don't want to go all the way back to 1975. I would even say let's go only back to, maybe we got so many results. Let's go back to 2010 and see what happens. So when I did that, so I changed. You guys see, I just changed the date there. So now I'm only looking at, I don't know, 11 years of results. Now I'm down to 1,449 results. So that's another thing you can do. Another thing you can do is limit by type. So I told you this was a good database for finding magazine articles, but it also finds newspaper articles and book reviews. Book reviews are one thing that you don't want to find, probably. A book review is not going to have enough information for you to use as a source. It might point you to a book that you want to use, but I think there are other easier ways to find books. But maybe you just want to look at only the magazine articles. So you could click there, and now we're only looking at magazine articles. So there's all kinds of interesting things that are showing up here about Alzheimer's disease and sleep. Looks like it might have something about Alzheimer's disease and exercise. Alzheimer's protein rises without sleep. So that's really interesting. So if we want to think about what are some of the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, that could be a question. And it sounds like maybe lack of sleep is a risk factor if I don't get good sleep. Here's an interesting question. I mean, people are asking all kinds of interesting questions, right? Does racism contribute to Alzheimer's disease? It would be interesting to read that article and see what that's saying. This database works just like all the other databases we've been looking at. This one says, what is Alzheimer's disease from New Scientist? It looks like it's going to be very, very short. I don't know if it's going to be too short for this assignment, but let's open it up and look at it. So I'm going to click on the title just so we can see how this database works and also get a sense from your professor about whether or not we could use this article. So it says this article provides a brief definition of Alzheimer's disease, which it notes is the most common cause of dementia, and notes how Alzheimer's is diagnosed both before and after death. So this is an abstract, what I just read. Sorry, maybe I didn't make that clear. I just read this section right here, which is an abstract or a summary of the article. So that gives me an idea of what the article is about, and then if I scroll down the page, I get the whole article. So we see this article is very short, and I'd love some feedback from your professor about whether or not this is too short for this assignment that we're working on.
It is too short. I'm thinking about around 600, at least 750 to 1200 words.
Okay. So you guys, the way you can kind of, the way I look to see that this page was really short is right here. It says it's 1/6 of a page. So instead of words, if we're talking pages, do you think we want an article that's at least maybe 3 pages long?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
3 to
So
5. Yes.
You can look here in the database that usually tells you how long an article is. So you guys are looking for articles that are at least 3 pages long. So that's one way, we can sort that information out really quickly. So we're going to get out of here. This is not going to help us, right? Let's see, was there another one? This one's from Discover, and it says Alzheimer's under attack. I'm not sure what it means, but we can look at this and see. But this one says it's 10 pages long. So that gives us an idea that that would be a long enough article. And then we can read this abstract to find out if it's one that will help answer the question that we have. So it says the article presents a case study of a 70-year-old woman suffering from Alzheimer's disease. And it's talking about difficulties to diagnose it, maybe relationships to Parkinson's disease, it looks like. And then if I scroll down the page, I've got the whole article here, and I can read through that article. I also have my tools over here on the right-hand side where I can email the article to myself. And you remember that you can change your citation format and change it to MLA, and then email that article to yourself if it's an article that you think you might use. So that's kind of how you can use that function. I'm going to close that. I'm not really going to send it to myself. I'm going to go back to my result list. So we looked at how we could limit by date and how we could limit to a source type, to magazines. We can also limit by subject, which is sometimes a really useful way to go. So look at this. Maybe I really want to focus on Alzheimer's disease prevention. Or maybe I really want to focus on risk factors. Or maybe I want to focus on treatment. Well, I can check this box, and then I'm going to get just 79 articles that are helping me do that. So if I want to look at treatment, I click there. And all these articles are about treatment for Alzheimer's disease. All right, and then if I can take that off. See here under subject, I can take it off, and I can go back, and I can say, well, let's try risk factors. What makes it more likely for someone to have Alzheimer's disease? And so I've got these articles. Looks like people are thinking sleep has something to do with it. I think we looked at that. Did we look at that one, Cracking the Code from Discover, maybe? I'm not sure. No, that's a different one. Lower Alzheimer's risk may be possible with a healthy lifestyle. So those are some articles that you might want to look at. All right, how are we doing? What questions do we have?
You have a question?
Very good.
Yes, what is your question?
If I choose the topic concern about disease and condition, like maybe for example heart disease, do I need to only talk about the symptom or the cause of the prevention, or do I need to talk about all that, or only choose one?
You have to think about that. You are going to write a 5-paragraph essay. So you are going to read, maybe you're going to read about the causes, you're going to read about the symptoms, but you have to be able to pull 3 body paragraphs, 3 points, then you can write about. Yes.
For each point, we should support it with 2 articles.
No, that's not what it means here. Reading is different. You're going to synthesize the reading later on, okay? Do you have a question for the librarian? Yeah, you may go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to demonstrate each one of these different bases because they all kind of work the same. But I'll show you one more, I think, just because it has a different look. But I want you guys to feel empowered to explore this site and play around with these different databases. So I'll show you one more just because it looks a little bit different. This is another good magazine database. So we'll try genetically modified food. And so this database kind of breaks up information in a little bit different ways. You'll see that the magazines are highlighted here. So it's telling me, but I could look at academic journals, I could look at books, I could look at news articles. So right now we're looking at magazines, and these are articles that we could search for, but then we also have ways to filter our results. So remember, in our other database, the filters were over here on the right-hand side. In this database, they're here. So I could say, well, let's only go from, I hope I can do this, 10. Will it let me do that too? Hope it'll let me do it this way. Yeah, so I didn't have to put in a specific date. I just did the years, and I got rid of a lot, right? So these are going to be more recent ones. I can limit to full text documents. I can limit by subject again, which I really love. So let's see. Oh, look at this. There's stuff about the United States. So maybe I want to look at that subject and see what these articles are about, because I know that they're focused on the United States. So GMO reality check, recent news and telling signs that more people are moving away from genetically modified foods. It may tell us why that's true, and it may not, but we may have some ideas from some of our other sources too. So looks like there's something about gene editing. So when you read something like that, like I don't really know too much about gene editing. I might want to go back to one of my reference sources if this looks interesting to me and find out more about genetically modified food and gene editing. Maybe that's something that I want to look into more. You know, my question could be, what is gene editing in relation to genetically modified foods? You know, I'm just kind of reading through these titles to see which ones look interesting to me, and this one jumped out at me. The threats from genetically modified foods, demand for regulation and labeling of GM products is growing as evidence of dangerous side effects mounts. Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard too much about dangerous side effects, but I could open up that article and read about it. Here's a question: genetically modified salmon, is it safe for human consumption? So you could go with a particular kind of food too, right? So, but that's how you use this particular database. If I said, oh, I want to take a look at this article and see what it says, I'm going to click on the title. And then for this database, if I want to send it to myself, I can click here on send and send to email. And then I can fill out this form. And you want to make sure you send the full text to yourself. In this particular database, sorry about that. It also has help for citing. So I can click here on cite, at my citation here, and I could copy and paste it, and then I could put it into my works cited list. And then you also have these other options. If you want to export it to Google Drive or OneDrive, you could do that too. But I usually easiest just to copy and paste it from this database. This database isn't quite as easy. The email doesn't always include the citation for you. And you have this option too. Here's another way you can email the article to yourself. It brings up that same box. All right, we're moving in on 7 o'clock. So I am going to get back to our guide and see if you have any questions. Does everyone remember how we got to the guide?
Yes.
And also I share the guide on my Blackboard.
Oh, perfect.
So they should be able to get to the course guide easily. Yes.
Okay, that sounds great. So you guys know how to get there, and this is going to be really a great key. I'd love it if everyone would drop one sentence in the chat about what was the most useful thing or what was the most confusing thing about today's session.
Anybody want to drop something? Type something? What's the most useful information that you learned today? Or something new that you never know? Okay,
Oh, come on, you will know that. Like, we learn how to use the library sources on a blackboard, which is, wow. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
are you guys feeling they're going to be useful for you?
Yeah, of course, it makes it easier.
And I love that, how to think like a researcher. Thanks, Joey. Oh, great, awesome.
What else?
Oh,
Anything else?
I'm gonna survive today, that's what it is. I have to work till 5 a.m.
Where to find the right information?
Oh.
All right, are you guys feeling pretty, let's see, where to find the right information. I'm wondering if we achieved our goals. Are you feeling a little more confident about starting your work?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Do you feel like you found some useful resources?
I'll give them some time today to kind of look for the resources, and then
Okay.
yes, because we still have like an hour left, and we're gonna guide. I will kind of help them individually to guide them through. Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, I enjoyed this session very much, and I hope you remember how to contact us. We'd love to hear from you at the library. So just remember, there's lots of ways you can connect with our libraries.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, you guys have fun. I'll see you around. You guys, you can get in touch with me on that Ask Librarian page.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.